See on vägi sinus eneses. See on vägi sinu sees.
If you saw the title of this video and thought, VÄGI, what might this be about? Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's pronounced Väki, and it means power, strength, or energy, I guess, in Estonian. So that's what the video is about, although I'm sure VÄGI has its own power, but that's a different kind of video. Enjoy. Right, so it's my first video recording myself talking, so let's see how it goes. I want to talk about the word Väki. It has layers and layers and layers of meanings and derived words and vocabulary and phrases in the Estonian language. So maybe let's break it down. In the most archaic form, Väki, it comes from the deep Finno-Ugric roots. Like I said, in Finnish it's Väki. In other related languages there's similar words. If you compare it to other similar concepts or understandings or worldviews around the world, then you might call it life force. There's a squirrel. Life force or chi or mana or prana. All these words describing this kind of quintessential force or power or energy that's flowing through everything living, everything around you, I guess, like all the trees, the rocks, the lands, people, of course, animals, birds, insects, entire cosmos. What comes to mind first is that in Estonian language and culture, Väki has become this kind of word and phrases connected to power, overpowering, taking advantage of something or someone. So the first thing that comes to mind is vägilane, which means sort of like a hero in mythology or in stories, like in Estonian mythology, of course, Kalevipoeg and all the other giants like his father Kalev and mother Linda. Even though it's gender neutral word, it kind of is implied culturally that it's a man for whatever reason. Another word for it would be vägimees, sort of like a strong man. Never really a woman. And the deeds they did. So there's a word, vägitegu, which is slipping off my tongue in English right now, but Heracles from the Greek mythology famously did 12 of them. Coming back to vägilane, the giant hero strongman, and usually it's like young men who are competitive, into sport, trying to see who's stronger, faster. In the context of competition and sports, there's an old popular game called vägikaika vedamine, which loosely translates as pulling the power stick. It's a traditional Estonian trial of strength where two people sit on the ground facing each other with their feet pressed together, both gripping a wooden stick called vägikaigas or sometimes vägipulk. The goal of the game was to pull the opponent off the ground. The name of the game has become synonymous with any kind of a trial or competition between two parties. Here's a very short story from a book published in 1936 called Kaval and Vanapagan. It's a classic trickster tale from Estonian mythology featuring the clever farmhand Kaval and the gullible Vanapagan. The latter is often translated as the old heathen or the devil. Before this part of the story begins, Vanapagan had been looking for a farmhand and had recently hired Kaval to do the job. However, he still began to doubt whether Ants was strong enough to do the heavy work. So Vanapagan said to the new farmhand, "Ants, my boy, you were boasting of your strength before. Come now and pull the stick with me." Ants agreed immediately, but asked to have his fill of food first. So Vanapagan left the trial of strength for the evening. In the meantime, Ants tied the pulling bar to the wall of the storehouse with a chain. At twilight, they set about pulling the stick. In the darkness, Vanapagan didn't notice the chain and yanked so hard that the storehouse walls cracked. Ants, however, didn't budge an inch. Vanapagan then pulled again, making a great crashing sound. Now Ants cried out, "Wait, wait, master, you'll break the storehouse down." Therefore, Vanapagan didn't dare to pull anymore, and Ants won once again. And there's some really unfortunate words and terminology and acts related to this kind of overpowering, especially another person. So there's these words like vägistamine, vägistama, vägistaja, vägistatu, vägistamisohver, all related to. And it's really unfortunate because it uses the root of this very powerful ancient word that's related to life force, and it's kind of has become to mean this overpowering someone else with force, especially in like a sexual context. And again, culturally, it's usually implied that only men do that, but of course, there's exceptions. Another word related to vägi is sort of the opposite, väeti. So that one would be someone who's meager, not very strong, maybe small, cowering. "Oh, sa väetikene" is a saying, "Oh, you poor little thing." If you add an S to the end of väeti, it becomes väetis, which is fertilizer for plants, so plant food. So again, going back to the root, it's giving life force or power for the plants to grow. Real fertilizer is more often than not just cow poop, so it really exemplifies again how this power or force or energy runs through everything, especially shit. Quite literal shit, full of power. To fertilize is väetama, and now there's this very new word which I only heard first time last year, called päästama. So it's similar to väetama, but it's päästama, there's an S in the middle. So that's where you power something up. Shamans, witches, healers, other people who are tapped into the power can power up themselves, which is väga täis in Estonian, like full of power. And it can be done through various means. An easy way to do it is to go to a place that's already powered up. And oftentimes these are significant natural features like sacred springs, lakes, mountains, ancient sacred groves called his in Estonian. So just going to those kind of places, immersing yourself in nature, is by default powering you up. Going back to the unfortunate bad things related to the word vägi, there's vägivald in general, very weird word. It means violence. The first part, vägi, of course makes sense with power, like overpowering someone with violence. But the other part of the word, vald, is a county, and vägivaldne is violent. Estonian language, you can add two words together to create a completely new word. Hence you can use the word vägi as a kind of a suffix to add some more power to the original word. Two very common examples of these would be when something happens by power of miracle or the power of magic. The first one then being imevägi and the second one võluvägi. So when something happens miraculously or something happens magically, you would use the words imeväel and võluväel. Wait, there's more. An interesting other meaning of vägi is instead of just power, it can be a collective of people. And most common use nowadays in contemporary Estonian language is sõjavägi. It means military. It literally means war force. So it's like a group of people that together is this kind of force. Of course, Estonia has branded itself as non-aggressor. So we have the defense forces, which in Estonian is kaitsevägi. Oh yeah, and connected to sõjavägi, the military, then a soldier is sõjaväelane. I wanted to mention another thing related to vägi, which is a plant. It's a medicinal plant, and it's called üheksavägine or vägihain. And as the name suggests, it's called 9 powers in Estonian. In English, it's called mullen. It's a medicinal plant that grows across Europe and North America and probably other places as well. And like the name suggests, it has many powers. Related to the word power and force is the word väga, which means very, as in very small, very big, very beautiful. So väga ilus, väga suur, väga väike. If something's awesome or great or cool or fetch or green, you can say vägev, which is a beautiful use of the word, obviously coming from the word power or force. So it's like full of force, awesome, full of awe. You can also use vägev to describe a person, like milline vägev naine, what an amazing woman, powerful woman. Or I guess you could just say great party. And the great party, of course, wouldn't be without great drinks or vägijook, which is alcohol or just really strong vodka. I slept on it and came to a realization that as much as I thought at first that the word vägi had been twisted into something negative, the realization is that it all makes sense. Because the word power, vägi, it really spirals from competition, overpowering, to fertilizing, nourishing, nurturing, back to war, back to amazing, fantastic, back to powerless, and then powerful again. So it really spirals through all the different variations and aspects of being, of life itself. So it totally makes sense because, like I said a few times in this video already, vägi really runs through everything. So yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you and love you all and bye bye. See you next time.
See on vägi minus eneses, just see ta ongi.
Hola perrito, ¿qué haces aquí? ¿Tienes hambre? Do you speak English? Okay, bye. Adios.